Good evening, high school football fans. This is High School Football America for March the 27th, 2014. I'm Jeff Fisher, host of the show and founder and editor-in-chief of High School Football America and highschoolfootballamerica.com. Welcome back. We took a couple of weeks off here as we were spending a lot of time getting things together here for the 2014 season, updating the website, and got our new podcast really crack-a-lackin', as they say, and we put it out daily. It's a daily dose of high school football news delivered on the website. Right now, we're not using highschoolfootballamerica.com. We're using highschoolfootballamerica.blogspot.com, but we also deliver it to your smartphone via iTunes. So you can subscribe there. It's free. It's 2 minutes. It's quick. It's news from around the nation, and we've gotten some really great response so far. So thanks for tuning in so far. And again, please go to iTunes and subscribe, or check us out on highschoolfootballamerica.blogspot.com. Have a fun show coming up for you tonight, as we have two coaches on the show that we'll spend some time with. Going to the smallest school in the state of Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula. So if you're looking at the state map, I don't know how they call that, the UP. Is that the thumb if you're looking at it as a glove? A little tiny town, under 1,000 people there. Joe Reddinger, the Hall of Fame coach, is stepping down after 37 seasons at North Dickinson High School, and Joe's going to stop in and talk about how far he's come from that very first practice when his 11-man football program only had 9 athletes on the field. You don't have to be a math genius to figure out that you can't play 11-man football with 9 players, but Joe Reddinger went from those 9 players to where his program has the longest active streak. It's the all-time longest streak in Michigan, as they have the Nordics from North Dickinson High School have qualified for 23 Michigan State high school football playoffs. So congratulations to Joe Reddinger. That'll be a fun chat, and then we'll follow that up with Jeff Kopp. Jeff Kopp played in the NFL, and now he, like many former NFL players, is going back down to the high school level to coach and give all of his talent. He's at the Providence School in Jacksonville, Florida. Tony Baselli, his teammate at USC, is also coaching there. So quite a staff for that 3A school that was 6-5 last year. Jeff Kopp just became the head coach earlier this year, so we're going to talk to Jeff about things he's going to do there in the program. And we've got a lot of other things coming up with some news from around the nation here on High School Football America. Taking our first break. When we come back, we're going to speak with Jeff Kopp. We're going to talk with Joe Reddinger first. Jeff Kopp's going to be in the second half hour. Joe Reddinger, the head coach at North Dickinson High School, the tiniest school in the state of Michigan that's done some big things. Joe Reddinger, when we come back. You're listening to High School Football America, brought to you by the Debris Inhibitor Razor, and this is the Artist First Radio Network. Time now to talk about the Debris Inhibitor Razor, spelled R-A-Z-U-R, here on High School Football America. The Debris Inhibitor Razor is a seamless outer sock that was specifically designed to keep crumb rubber and other fine debris from artificial or grass playing fields out of an athlete's shoes and socks, thus keeping such debris out of gym bags and also out of locker rooms. It's favored by athletes who want the look of tape, by trainers who no longer have the time to tape only for show, and by moms who no longer want that crumb rubber in the house. The Debris Inhibitor Razor is made of 70% nylon and 30% spandex material, making it extra lightweight and very durable. Plus, it's backed by a 1-year performance guarantee. The Debris Inhibitor Razor covers just the right amount of a player's shoe while keeping the shoelaces tight. It is fully customizable, machine washable, and most important, easy to get on and off. The Debris Inhibitor Razor is available in black, white, and pink. Other colors may be special ordered, and sizes are there from the youth level all the way up to that big foot. You know, the shoe size 14 to 17. Founded in 2010 by former University of Mississippi All-SEC player Carl Hoppy Langley III and 3 partners, Southern Sport Inc. created the Debris Inhibitor to improve athletic performance by protecting athletes, allowing them to look and feel better with technically advanced products engineered with superior fabric construction, a patented design, and proven innovation. To learn more, go to tdirazor.com. Remember, the razor is spelled R-A-Z-U-R, and look for a special code at High School Football America so you can get a discount on your order of the Debris Inhibitor Razor. This portion of High School Football America brought to you by Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Tony the Tiger reminding all you dads out there, whenever you sit down and share your passion and your love for football, make sure you sit down with the kids and you do it over a bowl of Frosted Flakes. Well, longtime listeners of this show know that nothing puts a bigger smile on my face than talking small town football. If you remember last November, we did 3 teams that had a combined population of under 5,000. Well, tonight we're going to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and North Dickinson High School, Joe Reddinger, Hall of Fame Michigan coach, has stepped down after nearly 4 decades at the school, 250-plus victories, and a state record 23 straight seasons of making the playoffs, stepping down with a lot of history and a lot of success behind him. And we're going to welcome Joe into the show here to talk about what has been a real fun career over nearly 4 decades. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thank you very much for having me on, Jeff.
Well, we love, like I said, I especially love it, and our listeners love listening to these small town programs. And we're going to get into when it started. I know you only had a few kids on the field way back when in the 70s, but let's kind of educate the listeners first about North Dickinson High School, Filch, Michigan. I know it's a tiny town. You're under 1,000 population, so give us a little thumbnail sketch of what it's like where you coach football.
Well, it's pretty much a rural community, a lot of farming and people that work in the woods cutting pulp wood for the paper mills. And plus we have a factory up there that makes particle board for Louisiana Pacific. So there is some employment there, but I mean, other than self-employed. But it's like I said, it's very rural. 2 small towns consolidated, Channing and Phelps, to make North Dickinson High School. They started football there in 1971. The first year they played 8-man football. They started 11-man in 72. I got there in 77, and things weren't always the greatest when we first started, but we got kind of turned the corner. We had our first winning season in 1981.
Well, let's talk about those early years. And I read in one of the stories that was talking about your retirement that I think that first year in 77, 9 players showed up on the field for the first practice. Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. It was we started obviously the first morning that we were allowed to start, and quickly found out that probably wasn't going to work very well in that area. So I got on the phone and talked to some kids and made some phone calls and came up with the idea that rather than practice during the day, with these kids working on the farm and out in the woods and such, that would probably be better if we practiced at night. So we started practicing at 5 o'clock at night. And believe it or not, in 37 years, we've never had 2-a-days at North Dickinson.
Well, I guess you finally figured out since you were no longer 8-man, 9 wasn't going to work. We're talking with Joe Reddinger tonight, a long-time Hall of Fame coach in Michigan, North Dickinson. He is stepping down after 250-plus victories, and we're going to spend a little bit of time here at the beginning because I always find it fascinating when coaches last as long as you have. What was the common thread through those decades? So aside from needing to get to 11 players on the practice field, what did you do in that first season there that kind of set the tone and carried its way through 2013?
Well, the biggest thing was to get out into the school population and get the kids that weren't participating in any sports out for football. It was a big basketball school. A lot of the kids played baseball in the summer, although we did not have high school baseball, but they had American Legion and stuff. But, to get these kids interested in something, those are the ones we needed. We didn't need the 10 or 12 kids that were on the basketball team. I needed everybody else. And so that was a struggle at first, and it's always been a struggle. And now with declining enrollments, it's a struggle again, just getting enough bodies to maintain a varsity and a junior varsity team. But through the years, we've had awesome participation through the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s. I think one year we had 28 kids in the senior class, and 21 of them were boys, and 19 of them played football. That's something I was very proud of.
Yeah, and one of the things I should point out here to the listeners is year in and year out, North Dickinson, the smallest team in the state, playing 11-man football in the state of Michigan. And give them a couple of stats here. The Nordics, 20 conference championships. I mentioned the 23 straight state playoff appearances. You had a run of 11 straight Wolverine conference titles. 98 team made it to the Class D state championship game. 92, 98, 99, and 2001 teams made it to the state semifinals. So let's before we talk about some of those good teams, let's continue down the path of the thing from 1997 that remained consistent and all that. Let's talk about the kids. Obviously there's in bigger communities there's different pressures today, and did that affect you there in Felch, Michigan, and the Upper Peninsula? Have kids changed all that much from when you started?
Believe it or not, they really haven't. It's been a fantastic community to coach in and to teach in. The parents are wonderful. They just stay out of the way. I always say they let the teachers teach and they let the coaches coach. And the kids are just type of blue collar kid that you're looking for. That just you can't never give them enough to do. You can't work them hard enough, and they always come up wanting more. They love to compete, and like I said, they have a work ethic that is second to none as far as I'm concerned. And we just like I said, if it wasn't for, I think, like a perfect scenario, I'm not sure I would have coached as long as I did.
Yeah, that makes sense. Joe Reddinger from North Dickinson High School in Felch, Michigan, a tiny town under 1,000 residents in it, but big success for the program. And when you think back over the years and staying in that theme, where you do have, like you said, the hard work ethic in a small town, not a lot of industry, but enough there. Do you think that made your job easier because these kids were used to a family upbringing where you had to go out and get it done? I mean, does that help you as a coach when it came time to X and O it?
I think definitely. They, like I said, they just something that they latch onto. It's become a community thing. It's a lot of pride in our football program right now, and the kids growing up, they want to be football players, and that's I think something that we've accomplished in the last 37 years that we can be very proud of. Yeah,
and that consecutive streak in the playoffs, 23 consecutive years, a Michigan State record. How proud of that are you and the players, past and present, and the community?
Well, it's tremendous feeling. It just kind of started in 1991, and then the next thing you know, it was 98, and the next thing you know, it was 2008, and then here we are in 2013 with 23 consecutive playoff trips. And like I say, everybody in the community should be very, very proud.
And we mentioned that quite a few deep runs into the playoffs, including, what did I say there, 98 and the D-State Championship in Michigan. Tell me about that and the pride in that. Is there any disappointment that maybe 98 didn't turn out where you got the gold instead of the silver? But what about a small school like yours making it that deep? That's got to be a sense of pride, too.
Well, it certainly was. We were in a position to win the game, but, things just didn't go our way. We had a block punt right before halftime that really hurt us. But, other than that, we just went down there and gave it our all. It was a great experience for the entire community and for our kids. We did it right. We left on Wednesday and we played on Friday morning. We all had our Thanksgiving dinner in a hotel in Pontiac. We tried the Silver Dome on Thursday, and it's one of those things where you get a sense of camaraderie or togetherness that you just don't find.
Yeah, I can imagine. Joe Reddinger, 37 years, the head coach at North Dickinson High School, 250-plus victories and a long streak of playoffs. I got to imagine coming from a small town like that, I don't know if you had been to the Silver Dome back in that day, but I guess for the kids, I mean, what's that like for a small town team to show up in Detroit and see that stadium? Can you relive, take us back to that and relive? I got to imagine some eyes were wide open.
We have a dome here in the UP, believe it or not.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's I think the largest all wood structure for sure in the United States. It's a wooden dome, that was built in the late 80s, and so they had played in there. Now we always tried to get one game a year in there, just so they could experience playing in a dome. Well, when we got to Pontiac and we walked down on the floor and we looked around and somebody said, "This is a dome." The Upper Dome that they call it keeps about 10,000. Well, compared to the Pontiac Silver Dome.
Yeah, you could put about what eight of the Upper Domes in there. That's pretty funny. Right. What about your coaching staff? Obviously, your success doesn't just come from you, and I would imagine in a small town you've had probably past players, some guys that have been there assisting you for a while. Let's talk about that and how important they were to your success.
Well, I've had quite a few assistant coaches throughout my career. Early on, my brother was one of my assistant coaches, and that was worked out good between the two of us. But then he left and went to a different school, and the guys I have right now have been with me. It seems like forever because they all played for me, and they've been coaching. My JV coach, I think, has been there about 20-some years. One of them, and the other one probably 15, and now my assistant that I had, my defensive coordinator, has been with me for the last 5 years, and it's something again that's been passed down, throughout the years.
Talking with Joe Reddinger tonight, North Dickinson High School in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, a program that's had a lot of success, no matter how small they are, and they are the smallest in Michigan. Joe's been able to get it done, and let's talk about the decision now. Obviously, 37 years is a long time. The numbers are great and all that, but what made you think this was the right time to step aside and start enjoying the rest of the life?
Well, it got to be. I always said I would coach until it wasn't fun anymore. Well, you know what? I'm sure kids feel like this sometimes too, but practices just aren't always fun. Mm-hmm. I still enjoy the games. There's nothing that can ever replace game day. But, I live about 25 miles from the school, and, every day last year I was driving to practice, wishing I was doing something else. So I just figure it's, there's some good kids that are coming up through the ranks, and I thought it's a good time to step aside, let the guys that have been with me for all these years take over, so that they can, grow as coaches and let them have, some of the success that they've been a part of all these years.
Obviously, as you think if it's the right time in that, I'm sure you do a little bit of a flashback. We talked about the championship run and some of the state semifinals. Do you have one or two seasons that right now, as you look back on it, make you smile? And what are those seasons and why do they make you smile?
Well, I think, somebody asked me this question a couple of weeks ago, and, there's been so many years that have been so great. I think we went a couple times. We had back-to-back undefeated seasons, but only to lose early in the playoffs. For some reason, sometimes I think that the losses stand out more than the wins.
Sure.
Because of the disappointment. And I don't think, there's never, the joy of winning, but there's nothing, I don't think that's a worse feeling when you've been upset. It's one thing to lose to a team that is better than you, but when you run into where somebody just has their day type of thing, that sticks with you. But yeah, you can look down at our records. We were undefeated in 94, 95, 2000, 2001. We were 2006. All great teams, including 97 and 98 and 99 were awesome years. Had a group of kids that were really probably collectively the best backfield I ever had. I used to call them the $1 million backfield. But it's just been such every year there's another kid that steps forward or another group of kids that step forward, and everything just seems to keep rolling and rolling along.
And that's what makes high school football as interesting as it is. We're going to wrap up here with Joe Reddinger. North Dickinson stepping down after a lot of victories, 250-plus. Hall of Fame coach, Felch, Michigan, a small town, so he achieved big things in a small town. So now here's the big question. You've been doing this for a long time, 37 years. And now I know you don't have two-a-days, but you do have that day one of practice, which is like a national holiday to me. So when the Nordics hit the field for the first day of practice in 2014, what are you going to be thinking? Where are you going to be? Are you going to kind of sneak out there and take a peek at the field?
Hopefully I'll either be golfing or fishing. How's that?
That sounds like a good plan, that's for sure. And I'm sure, North Dickinson's not going to leave you. I'm sure you're going to have a hand in it along. But, Joe, thank you so much for taking time to educate our listeners about your tiny town and all the success. And thank you for being a part of so many kids' lives for that amount of time. It's important. Our youth thanks you. We've got a lot of you guys around the country, but unfortunately more and more are retiring. And I think the day and age of seeing guys that coach 30-plus years may be going. So you may be one of those last breeds. But thank you so much for joining us and talking to us about your great career.
Thank you very mumuch for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Very welcome. Joe Reddinger, North Dickinson High School, Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Well, before we go to break here, let's take a look at some of the news from around the nation. And again, the best way to keep up with us, aside from Twitter, which we're always cranking out on, HSFB America is our handle there. The daily podcast getting lots of listens. It's called the 2-Minute Drill, and people have been loving it. So it's a way for you to get your high school sports news when you're not at the computer or anything. Just download it on your smartphone there and iTunes. It's all free, and it's good and fun for you. For example, yesterday on the podcast, and this is something that's happening more and more around the country, and I actually think, I don't know if you're going to call it a problem, but I think it could become a problem. For example, in Amarillo, Texas, in the Panhandle there, the Amarillo chapter of football officials saying, we don't have enough officials for the 2014 season. Generally, on Friday nights, there's nearly 50 games in the Panhandle. That means they need about 125 officials, and right now in the Amarillo chapter of football officials, they have only 92. So that means 5 to 10 games right now may not have officials. So officials are putting out a plea trying to find new officials, new blood, if you will. A lot of the longtime officials that I talk to around the country say the younger people, the younger generation, just not coming into the profession, and they think it's going to get worse and worse. Amarillo says that in the last 5 years, there's been a 35% decline in the number of officials. So said, what we can do here is a couple of things. Obviously, find new blood, or maybe some of the teams that play on Friday night, which is the time to play, although I love Saturday afternoon football. But maybe some schools will have to change their Friday night games to Saturday to make sure that there's enough officials in the Amarillo area. So that was one of the stories we had. Penn State, I'm a big Penn State fan, and James Franklin, the new head coach there, has made an immediate impact in the Keystone State, and that makes me smile. Big difference already in recruiting in the latest 247sports.com football recruiting team rankings. The Nittany Lions moving up 4 spots to number 4 overall, behind number 1 Texas A&M, number 2 Alabama, and number 3 LSU. Earlier this week, helping that move from 8 to 4 was a verbal commitment on Tuesday by wide receiver Brandon Polk of Briarwoods High School in Ashburn, Virginia. So congratulations to James Franklin. I do expect a lot of great things. He did wonders at Vanderbilt, and I expect even bigger things in the Big Ten with what James Franklin will do. Going back all the way to Sunday, 8 more invites were handed out to the opening 2014 at the Nike World Headquarters in Oregon. The opening 2014 taking place in July. 3 defensive players and a couple of offensive linemen were leading the way at Sunday's Nike football training camp, gaining invites from Georgia, where linebackers Roquan Smith from Macon County High School and Quarte Sapp from Milton High School, both players recording 100-plus tackles in 2013 for their respective schools, and Sapp was Sunday's linebacker position MVP. The third defensive player to gain an invite was Kevin Tolliver at Trinity Christian in Florida. Tolliver has already given his verbal to LSU. He's the number 1 quarterback in the country, according to 247sports.com. 2 linemen punching their tickets to Oregon, Chuma Adoga of McGeechern High School in Georgia, and Dallas Warmack from Mays High School in Atlanta, impressing on Sunday. Warmack, by the way, is the brother of Tennessee Titan Chance Warmack. Dallas will follow in his brother's footsteps and play at the University of Alabama. Edoga is ranked as the 5th best offensive tackle by 24/7 Sports. Edoga's teammate, running back Taj Griffin, will be joining him at the opening 2014. Griffin has over 20 college offers, and 2 wide receivers received, get the little play on words there, their invites to Oregon on Sunday. They are Terry Godwin of Callaway High School in Georgia and Preston Williams of Lovejoy in Georgia. This coming weekend, the FTC making stops in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Birmingham, Alabama. Again, make sure you subscribe to our podcast or listen on our website, the 2-Minute Drill Podcast. Big news out of the NFL this week. NFL Foundation has given USA Football a 5-year, $45 million grant to expand its heads-up football program that teaches safe tackling techniques to youngsters. The NFL made the announcement on Monday at the league's owners' meetings. Heads-up football had nearly 28 youth football organizations teaching it during the first year, which was 5 times more. The early projections on it, heads-up football, is designed to take the head out of tackling and employs master trainers who teach it to coaches throughout the nation, and those coaches in turn instruct youth football players. They say about 600,000 young football players were trained with the Heads Up program during the 2013 season. And USA Football based in Indiana, and on Monday, Indiana Governor Mike Pence signed a bill that, and there's some debate over this. I'm still trying to figure it out, but Indiana's saying it, so we'll go with what they say until we get it all sorted out. But the bill makes the Hoosier State the first in the nation to require concussion awareness training, making it mandatory for high school and youth football coaches under the law. High school and youth head and assistant coaches will be required to take a concussion awareness course approved by the Indiana State Department of Education, and that law will take effect on July the 1st. And just a fun one. Max Preps had this earlier this week. Josh Bickham of Covington High School in Louisiana, the junior running back, shattered the Louisiana High School Athletic Association record at the state powerlifting meet. He competed in the 198-pound weight class. The Times-Picayune reporting that he bench pressed 420 pounds, squatted 660, then deadlifted 725. They were all state records. His total lift, an incredible 1,780 pounds. Love to hear stories like that. He's a little guy, too. I think he's listed at 5'6". All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to head to Jacksonville, Florida. Jeff Kopp, he's the new head coach at the Providence School down there. Couple of NFL players on the coaching staff. Kopp and Tony Baselli both played at USC, and both are trying to do some good things for student athletes in the Jacksonville school known as Providence. That story when we come back. You're listening to High School Football America on the Artist First Radio Network. Time now to talk about the Debris Inhibitor Razor, spelled R-A-Z-U-R, here on High School Football America. The Debris Inhibitor Razor is a seamless outer sock that was specifically designed to keep crumb rubber and other fine debris from artificial or grass playing fields out of an athlete's shoes and socks, thus keeping such debris out of gym bags and also out of locker rooms. It's favored by athletes who want the look of tape, by trainers who no longer have the time to tape only for show, and by moms who no longer want that crumb rubber in the house. The Debris Inhibitor Razor is made of 70% nylon and 30% spandex material, making it extra lightweight and very durable. Plus, it's backed by a 1-year performance guarantee. The Debris Inhibitor Razor covers just the right amount of a player's shoe while keeping the shoelaces tight. It is fully customizable, machine washable, and most important, easy to get on and off. The Debris Inhibitor Razor is available in black, white, and pink. Other colors may be special ordered, and sizes are there from the youth level all the way up to that big foot. You know, the shoe size 14 to 17. Founded in 2010 by former University of Mississippi All-SEC player Carl Hoppy Langley III, and 3 partners, Southern Sport Inc., created the debris inhibitor to improve athletic performance by protecting athletes, allowing them to look and feel better with technically advanced products engineered with superior fabric construction, a patented design, and proven innovation. To learn more, go to tdirazor.com. Remember, the razor is spelled R-A-Z-U-R, and look for a special code at High School Football America so you can get a discount on your order of the debris inhibitor razor. This portion of High School Football America brought to you by Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Tony the Tiger reminding you dads out there, whenever you share that passion and love for the game of football, make sure you sit down with the kids and do it over a bowl of Frosted Flakes. Well, as we mentioned going into break, one of the fun things we've been doing on this show over the last couple of years is we've had some guys that have played at the top level in the NFL playing on Sundays. On the line right now, we have the new head coach at Providence School in Jacksonville, Florida. His name is Jeff Kopp, played with 4 teams in the NFL, a linebacker, played at USC, grew up in Northern California. We'll talk about what he learned at that level all the way up to the NFL and why he's given back to the kids at that very important level, which is high school football. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you on here. Like I said, it's always good when guys have made it as far as you have in the game and then find your way back to help these student athletes at the high school level. So before we kind of get off and rolling on your philosophy and all that, let's educate the listeners a little bit about Providence. I said it's in Jacksonville, but tell us a little bit about the school itself and how football fits into it.
Well, it's a great private school here in Jacksonville, Florida, and it is a I always tell parents and prospective students and anybody that I talk to that it is a Christian college prep school, and it is those things, and it is got a Christian foundation to it, so it's an awesome foundation to have. You always got the ultimate rule book to fall back onto in the Bible, and you know where the rules are and the way that we're supposed to act and think and help each other and serve each other. And then it's college prep school. It's not easy academically. I will put it that way. And I went to public school in Northern California and went to college and I have children in the school right now here, high school daughter and a middle school son, and I see what they do academically, and it's not easy. And we share that with the parents of athletes here, and it is, as I like to say, is we all think we're competitors. We all think we're competitors when we're on the field or on the basketball court or on the wrestling mat. But we are at this school. You got to compete in the classroom, and you got to compete at the highest level in order to make it. So that really separates us here. We've had state championship baseball teams, basketball teams, cross country teams. Football has really just come on the map. We've been in the playoffs 3 times in the entire program history, and I've coached under the 2 previous head coaches here, both great guys. And now it's my opportunity to lead the program.
Talking with Jeff Kopp tonight, head coach at Providence School in Jacksonville, Florida, drafted by the Miami Dolphins back in '95 after his career at USC, a linebacker. He played at San Ramon Valley High School in Danville up in Northern California. You played, let's see, with the Dolphins, the Jags, the Ravens, and the Patriots. And let's talk about your time there, and that's a good place to start, and how that's kind of shaped you as a coach at the high school level right now. What have you brought from the NFL back to the high school ranks?
Well, it's interesting. Is I had, and I'm very, very fortunate that I had such a great experience in the NFL that I made it for 5 years. And I even though I bounced around a lot, I had my wife the whole time, Alicia, was supported me through it, and we moved, and she came everywhere with me, and I ended up having my daughter when I was playing in Jacksonville. But the one thing that I got to experience by playing for so many teams is I actually got to play for 7 different head coaches because I went through a few coaching changes. And so, I got to play for Don Shula in his last year of coaching in the NFL and got to, play for a legend. And then I got to come up to Jacksonville, and I was here for 2.5 seasons and play for Tom Coughlin, which is a very different coaching style than Shula. Then got to go up to Baltimore, and I played for two coaches there. I played for Ted Marcher-Broda, who's another, coach who'd been around a long time, likes of Shula. And then I played for Brian Billick, who was kind of a new cutting-edge West Coast style coach, that came from Minnesota. And then really the game changer for me, in all honesty, was Pete Carroll. I got to play for Pete in New England. And that year, 2000, we were 8-8. He got fired, and that was, playing for him was kind of the awakening for me, where I said, "Wow, this is, of all the head coaches I've had, this is the guy that I said, this is the coach I've been waiting for." And just the way that he interacted now, and I think he was so far ahead of his time. I think the way that he coached, and they said, he's player friendly, he's too rah-rah. And that was the kind of guy I was like, yes, this guy gets it, And then he gets fired, and my career ends after that. I, had a cup of coffee in Seattle, played for Holmgren, and then I was done. But I after that, Pete got the job at USC, and I actually got to, I was working radio for Southern California, doing the pre and the post game show. So I got to really continue my relationship with Pete as his whole coaching philosophy and style was coming out, and he completely changed Southern Cal. So he's had the greatest influence on me, and then later on we can probably talk about how his disciple Gus Bradley has had an influence on me as well, right here in my hometown.
You're talking to a Seahawks fan here, and I've been there since day one, even though I grew up in Pennsylvania. So I'm very, very happy with Coach Carroll and what he's done there in Seattle right now. Really great job. Talking with Jeff Kopp tonight. He is the head coach at Providence School in Jacksonville, Florida. Played in the NFL for 5-6 years. A great career at USC, and then let's take you back to those early days at San Ramon Valley High School in Danville. Was there a moment in time there where you kind of said, well, you know what, so at some point in time, instead of the guys blowing the whistle at me, I'm going to be blowing the whistle at high school kids? I mean, has this been a plan all along after the NFL career to go into high school coaching?
You know what? It wasn't, Jeff. It was interesting. My dad was a coach. He coached me all the way through Pop Warner. Then he was, San Ramon was a decent-sized public school. We had freshman team, JV team, varsity, which a lot of private schools. So here we go, wow, that would be awesome if we had all that. We don't have that. We have middle school and varsity, at the private school. But, my dad was a coach, and so I never really thought of it. But, going from high school to SC, I was a very enthusiastic, kind of a emotional leader of the teams in that 94 season. Tony Baselli and a linebacker named Brian Williams, we were the team captains at USC, and I had received the most inspirational player award. So it was kind of always in me, and I guess getting out of football is what made me realize that, wow, this is even though anything that I studied in school, and I was making a living as a financial advisor. And I said, anything that I study, I'll never have as much, I'll never have as much knowledge and experience as I have had with football. I mean, it's essentially we football guys look at it as the amount of time I spent in high school, college, and NFL, in the meeting room and on the field is I should have a doctorate in football. And unfortunately, they don't give those out. They're called NFL head coaches apparently, but. After being away from it, I got back into coaching high school, actually here at Providence, and I knew that was it. I said, it took me 5 years, but I said, told my wife, like, look, honey, I think that football is what I should be doing. You have those moments. I had where whether you're sitting in church and you're just going, man, I really think that this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is what my calling is to help. Help lead young men, to build a foundation, of life skills for them and teach them about, what competing in every aspect of life is. So, growing up, I didn't have that aspiration at all, and I didn't have it until I was, in my 30s. That, man, I think that I'm a coach, just doing something else.
That's neat. That's neat to hear the progression there through that. Can you go back to those early days? I'm sure there's a lot of your dad in you. So how much of your dad that you saw growing up as a player when he was your coach is in you now as a you're in your early 40s. So is there some dad in you?
Yeah. Yeah, he is for sure. He's a guy from just outside of Youngstown, Ohio, and he was a football player. Went to scholarship player at Arizona State, played under Frank Kush, and then became was a businessman and then a football coach. But he was compared to a lot of the other coaches that I grew up with and played for. He was always a very positive guy, not a yeller and screamer at all, which is I'm not. Mine's enthusiasm. It's not. I'm not the it's my way or the highway coach, and I'm not a coach that will degrade or break down the players. I'm a positive guy that always looks for what the opportunity is to improve. And my dad was like that. I just didn't know it. My dad was the type of guy that carried around the 3x5 cards, in his pocket and did like his daily affirmations. I mean, he was he's a salesman. He was a copier salesman. And
that's tough.
What you got to do is you got to take a deep breath and make that next pitch. You're not putting food on the table. So that was my dad. And now I sit there and look at it and I go, huh. I do have a little bit of that in me.
Well, that's good to hear. Jeff Kopp on the line tonight on High School Football America, former NFL linebacker, now coaching at Providence in Jacksonville, Florida, and just kind of talking about the difference between the different levels and all that. Let's talk about the difference in the game from when you were a kid and then going to USC. The recruiting pressures are very, very different, obviously. So what are some of the things that you see as being different, and that your experience at the levels you've played at will help you in today's game of high school football?
Yeah, there are, obviously there's quite a few differences between, when I was growing up and playing high school football and even in colleges. Obviously the whole internet thing, and now that my big deal is I got my first cell phone when I was in the NFL, so that it dates me a little bit, but
made me laugh.
The pressures are far greater now on the kids, just and the instant gratification that these kids, a lot of them need or they grow up with. I mean, that's just the way our society is now, and I think the parental pressure is even more so now, which I find it interesting. And every coach to a man would probably say, all the parents they interact with, most parents think their kid is the next all-star and the kid that should get a scholarship. That's a shame that we encounter that, because that means that we're placing value on the child because he's good at football, or he's the star at football, and that's not what I'm here to do. That's not why I'm in this coaching business at all. For each of these kids that are in our program is, if he's the negative, the 0-star talent, or he's a 5-star talent. And this goes back to John Wooden and Pete Carroll and Gus Bradley here. Is like, if that kid is maximizing his own potential, and he's out there competing every day to be the best version of himself, then that kid, in my eyes, that's winning. And that kid is just as valuable as, for example, Tony Baselli's son is going to be a junior here, and he's getting recruited by everybody in the country. The kid that doesn't play and is competing every day in the weight room and on the practice field is just as important to me as our 4- and 5-star recruits. Which we had a 5-star here last year. There's no difference to those kids, and I think a lot of the parents and a lot of the generation, the last generation of players that have come through is I think a lot of people forgot that, and they got away from that. Football is fun, and it's a life teaching skill if it's taught properly, and a lot of coaches haven't done that. And I think I think there's a lot of coaches that we need to get in here and change that.
You mentioned your teammate there at USC and the Jags. I mean, what's with the Jags and the USC pipeline to Providence? Is that on purpose, or how that all happened?
Well, yeah. It's funny is Tony and I were roommates at USC and for all 4 years, and I was the best man in his wedding. He's the groomsman in my wedding. And we go way back, and knew each other before we ever knew our wives, and we actually kind of had kids right around the same time. I ended up in Jacksonville in my second year in the NFL, where he was already here. Our other teammate Rob Johnson in college and our roommate was here in Jacksonville as well. And so there's just this all of a sudden the pipeline, and it all just comes full circle when I actually ended up moving back here to Jacksonville before Tony did, because he was finishing his NFL career in Houston, and it's just I don't know what the draw is. It's interesting, but Jacksonville, Florida is. I've lived a lot of places in Southern California, Northern California, and up and down the East Coast, and I just love Jacksonville. It's the coast, it's the South, it's Florida, kind of all mixed into one. And so it's just, here we are. So now, Baselli, both of our kids go here, and Tony Baselli he's the offensive line coach on the staff here, and it's awesome. We've known each other for, it's 24, 25 years now.
Neat.
And here we are, coaching together in high school.
That's
pretty awesome.
That is really cool. Jeff Kopp on the line on High School Football America tonight, the new head coach at Providence. He's been there as an assistant for several years. And let's start talking about your kind of thumbprint. You're a linebacker. You got Tony as your lineman, so you got both sides of the ball there. What type of head coach are you? You a guy that leans toward those guys that bring them down, or the guys that score the points?
Well, I'm actually, changing offensive and defensive systems here this year. We had been, back in 2010, I hate to use this term because it's a wing T based offense, which now we'd like to call it multiple formation pro style offense, because you can see the wing T influence in any football game you watch. And we were kind of joking and watching the 49ers in the playoffs, and you're like, they come out in some of these formations and they're running the same wing T plays, but you wouldn't call them wing T, because quarterbacks and receivers tend to shy away if you're a wing T guy or a wing T offensive system. Which, hey, we're influenced by it heavily. So, we are we're fortunate here right now to have a very big offensive line for high school, and with all the kids coming back. Anchored by Tony Baselli's son is, 6'4", 295-pound guard, and we have several guys over 6'3", 270 at the offensive line positions, and two really good running backs coming back that are both and they're all going to be juniors next year. So guys that are getting recruited, fortunate to have those kids here, but defensively we're going to be a movement, a 3-3-5 defense, lots of penetrating, attacking, and it's really not sitting back and waiting for the offense to dictate the pace to us, but dictate the pace to them and dictate the game to them. And as far as a head coach, I'm a real positive, enthusiastic, optimistic, leader. I love the game of football, and I love to have fun on the practice field and on the game field, and that's just the way that I am, and it's for these kids and for myself and for the staff. It's all about competition in every single thing we do, and that's the message that the culture that I'm trying to create here, and ours, being in a Christian school is. It's kind of a spin on what Wooden and Pete Carroll do, but we add in the Christian side of it, which is we're gonna our culture and our mission statement is to honor Christ through competitive greatness, and that's in everything. So you got to compete to be the best version of you that you can be, and that's got to be in the classroom. It's got to be on the football field, the practice field. It's got to be in relationships with people, whether it's your family and teachers, and that's all we're selling all day long. And anybody that says, "What are you about?" I say, "This is what we are," and that message will never change. And so there'll never be a question of what's your culture. What culture are you trying to create here, Coach? It's honoring Christ through competitive greatness. And there's a lot of little buzzwords I use that are associated with that, but I don't want I don't want to give it all away. I'll give it to any coach who comes and visits me. I'll give them the PowerPoint. We go from there. But you got to sit down in the office and let me preach to them a little bit.
Nothing wrong with that game plan, Coach. Jeff Kopp on the line with us on High School Football America tonight. By the way, as I told you earlier, I'm a Pennsylvania guy. I grew up watching Tubby Raymond and the wing tee and all that. I think it worked out pretty good for Joe Flacco and Rich Gannon. They were pretty good quarterbacks running that wing tee at the next level, right? Yeah. They were bad. Yeah. Well, let's wrap things up here. You mentioned some of the kids coming back. Well, what are some of the goals you've set for this season for you and for the team itself?
What's interesting is we always have, as a coaching staff, we will know our opponents and we will know all their tendencies, and we get on and break all the film down, and we understand what the game plan and what the opportunities for us to succeed are, and we do have goals, certain items that we talk about offensive, defensively, and special teams and team-wise. But for me, more importantly than any of that stuff is getting the kids. My goal is to get them to understand about competition and competing at every single thing that you do, and it's specifically I'm changing practices and the tempo of our practices and the speed of which we do things and the amount of time which we do things, and getting them to understand that it all happens on the practice field, and that's where we win right there, and the score on Friday nights, the scoreboard, and all the individual stats and the goals. If you're doing all that stuff, on the practice field, all that other stuff tends to take care of itself. So I'm not the guy. Now, my assistant coaches might, do a little bit of this, but I'll never be the guy that talks about, about the opponent and it's, what they do specifically. It's all about. I always believe it's about us and our execution. And you go back to the wing tee offense. It's it's a system offense and what we do. And if we execute it and everyone does what they're supposed to do on any given play, it's going to be successful. And then the running back's going to get their yards. The quarterback's going to get his yards. The scoreboard's going to take care of itself. And so those are the goals, kind of the big picture goals that we have in this program. Is I always want to make it about us. And it's about what we do on the practice field every day and how we compete on the practice field. Friday night, all that takes care of itself, and the goals take care of itself. So that's the big goal for me, is to get everyone in that mindset. Always thinking like that is the next play is the most important one, and the only thing you can focus on is the play that you're in, and you can't control what's already happened, but the next step's the most important one. So. That's my goal.
Well, you may not have had it in your bones back there as a high school player, but it sounds like you got the coaches speak down and the enthusiasm, and I have no doubt that you're going to have a great, successful career there at Providence, and we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us tonight on High School Football America. Best of luck in 2014, Coach.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, Jeff Kopp, new head coach at Providence School in Jacksonville, Florida, taking a break, coming back with more. You're listening to High School Football America, brought to you by the Debris Inhibitor Razor, and this is the Artist First Radio Network. Time now to talk about the Debris Inhibitor Razor, spelled R-A-Z-U-R, here on High School Football America. The Debris Inhibitor Razor is a seamless outer sock that was specifically designed to keep crumb rubber and other fine debris from artificial or grass playing fields out of an athlete's shoes and socks, thus keeping such debris out of gym bags and also out of locker rooms. It's favored by athletes who want the look of tape, by trainers who no longer have the time to tape only for show, and by moms who no longer want that crumb rubber in the house. The Debris Inhibitor Razor is made of 70% nylon and 30% spandex material, making it extra lightweight and very durable. Plus, it's backed by a 1-year performance guarantee. The Debris Inhibitor Razor covers just the right amount of a player's shoe while keeping the shoelaces tight. It is fully customizable, machine washable, and most important, easy to get on and off. The Debris Inhibitor Razor is available in black, white, and pink. Other colors may be special ordered, and sizes are there from the youth level all the way up to that big foot. The shoe size 14 to 17. Founded in 2010 by former University of Mississippi All-SEC player Carl Hoppy Langley III and 3 partners, Southern Sport Inc. created the debris inhibitor to improve athletic performance by protecting athletes, allowing them to look and feel better with technically advanced products engineered with superior fabric construction, a patented design, and proven innovation. To learn more, go to tdirazor.com. Remember, the razor is spelled R-A-Z-U-R, and look for a special code at High School Football America so you can get a discount on your order of the debris inhibitor razor. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's broadcast. The show brought to you tonight by Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Tony the Tiger reminding you dads to share what you love with who you love. Also brought to you by the TDI Razor. Here's a code. It'll get you a discount on your order. It is HSFBARZR1. We'll tweet that out for you. Go to TDIRazor.com. TDI Razor, the debris inhibitor razor. What does it do? And razor is spelled R-A-Z-U-R, by the way. It will keep those pesky rubber pellets from field turf out of your shoes. It will also do away with the cost of tape for spatting because it gives you that great look. And these things wear. They're durable. So check them out at TDIRazor.com, R-A-Z-U-R.com. If you want more information, feel free to email me at jeff@highschoolfootballamerica.com, or you can direct message me on Twitter at HSFBAmerica. Don't forget to follow us on social media, whether it's our YouTube channel, whether it's Facebook or Twitter. We've got Pinterest up there for you. Instagram, all of those things. Please follow us, and we'll follow you back. I want to thank our guest on the show tonight, Joe Reddinger, the Hall of Fame coach from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, North Dickinson. Wish him good luck in his retirement after 37 great years as the head coach. And the guy coming in, the new guy, who's hoping maybe for 37 years at the Providence School, Jeff Kopp, the former NFL player, played at USC. He's the new head coach at the Providence School. So wishing him very, very good luck as he gets everything off and rolling. Good show for you next week, as we're going to have another former NFLer going back to the high school ranks to be a head coach. His name is David Alexander, and he is the head coach at Broken Arrow High School in Oklahoma, outside of Tulsa, trying to compete against the big guys there in the Tulsa area. You know him as Union and Jenks, and we'll have David Alexander on the show next week talking about that, along with Alex Kirby, who's writing a book on that breaks apart the Philadelphia Eagle head coach Chip Kelly's offense. His name is Alex Kirby. So that's coming up next week. And don't forget, subscribe to our podcast or listen every day on the website. It's the 2-Minute Drill Podcast. 2 quick minutes to get you up to date with everything that's going on in high school football. Like the show here, we very rarely take some time off. It's 365 for us, keeping you up to date, because just because the season ends doesn't mean high school football ends. So that's why we try and give you as many ways to keep up to date with the news as is humanly possible. For now, this is Jeff Fisher saying good night and good sports from Southern California. You've been listening to High School Football America, and this is the Artist First Radio Network.